And you are live.
Yes, good morning. Thank you. I'd like to welcome all of you to this meeting, and I'm going to call on Pam to take the roll, please. Pam, thank you.
Chair Ryan.
Present.
Regent Balducci.
Here.
Regent Bloom.
Here.
Student Regent Galais.
Present.
Regent Guay.
Present.
Regent James. Absence is noted. Regent Japanen.
Present.
Regent McCarthy. Absence is noted but will be expected. Regent Porth.
Present.
Student Regent Sanchez. He is expected. Absence is noted for now. Regent Santiago.
Present.
Regent Stewart. Absence is noted. Regent Wright.
Here.
Regent Yang. Absence is noted. And our ex officios, Professor Cunningham.
Present.
Professor Sanker. Absence is noted. Commissioner Bartolomeo. And I see, thank you, Regent James. I see that you have joined us.
Yes, I'm sorry, I joined the wrong meeting.
Commissioner Bartolomeo. Absence is noted. Commissioner Giutani. Absence is noted. Commissioner O'Keefe. Absence is noted. Student Regent Sanchez, I see that you have joined us as well. Thank you for popping in. Commissioner Russell Tucker and Chief Workforce Officer Valeries.
Present.
Thank you. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. I'm now pleased to be able to turn the meeting over to Carla, who is our student on our student advisory. And Carla, I know Luis is here to support you, but I see Luis is off mute, so he's on as well. But Carla, I'm going to turn it over to you, please.
Thank you, Chair Ryan. Good morning, everyone. So I'm the chair of the Student Advisory Committee. Luis is the vice chair. We're just going to give you a short presentation on what the Student Advisory Committee has worked on this past year, a bit about our transition, our projects, and our goals for the future. So we do have a presentation. If Tam is able to pull that up. Just one moment. All right, thank you. Okay, so if you could go to the next slide, Tam, that'd be great. All right.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry for being computer was a little bit acting up. So summary, these are some of the topics that we're going to be covering today. Legislative outreach, advisory transition, path for student advisory committee, some of the focus areas and the goals for the semester. The reason why we pick the topics that you guys are seeing in your screen is because we've been in contact with a lot of students, and also these are some of the problems we have encountered throughout the semester, and we're going to be touching on this throughout the presentation.
So just to begin, I'd like to say that the Student Advisory Committee consists of one representative from each campus. So we've got all the community college campuses, as well as Charter Oak and the universities. So we usually meet monthly, and from there we will do some special board meetings, or special meetings, and we began the semester early in fall. We came together, we did elections, and right off the bat, we started discussing issues that are impacting our campuses. So a bunch of items came up, which we will talk about later on in the presentation. But one of the main goals that we established was that we wanted to do a legislative outreach program. sort of thing. So we, knowing what's going on with the budget issues, the Student Advisory Committee decided that we had two goals. One was to educate students on the issues affecting the CSU system, and then also to make a push to our local legislators regarding these issues. So each representative went back to their campuses and kind of worked with their SGA to connect with legislators. So we ended up having three main events. So the Eastern Connecticut State held a tabling event in their student center on March 1st. So during that event, many issues were brought to the attention of their SGA and Student Advisory Representative Mia Summers. They provided information on their local legislators and had sample letters to present to, for students to then present to their legislators. And CT State Housatonic also held a tabling event. This was led by Student Advisory Committee Representative Michelle Renz. They held a tabling event on February 29th where they, it was a two-way street. They discussed how to connect students with legislators, and also brought forward conversations on their thoughts on tuition increases and other concerns at their campus. And finally, CT State Northwestern, our SGA here at Northwestern decided to do a campus-wide email blast with information on all that's happening within the system and how to connect with legislators. Tam, if you could, thank you.
A little bit about our advisor transition. We transitioned to a new advisor, Dr. Tan O'Day Stevens, between December and March. It was a period where there was very limited advising, but along with Tam and me, Carla and I, we have worked in shifting the direction of the SAC and aligning with what our goals are going to be, and our input with Tam. She has helped us put our input and our ideas into actionable goals, which has been very helpful and something that was a bit limited in the past. We created a new structure of apathy. There was a prior to Dr. Tam joining SAC, there was a culture of apathy, and there wasn't really clear direction where the SAC was going. As she joined, she helped us build a direction. And unfortunately, due to the lack of limited advising, our attendance and participation dropped. This is due to many reasons. Pam is going to be meeting with the student activity directors across the campuses to talk about this issue. Unfortunately, students haven't been that receptive and willing to participate, which has taken a huge toll on the things that we can accomplish and do. And Carl is going to be touching a little bit more regarding this.
Yeah, so it's no secret that our students are a very diverse group of people. So we've got all ages, all walks of life, all learning abilities. So this is aligning students, it has been difficult. And there was this culture for SAC that has been many years in the works of this sort of apathy. It was hard to pull people in, get them on a unified mission, because we're coming from all different angles here. So since we've had Tam, who has been an absolute blessing, she's been incredible, helping us really come up with tangible goals, solutions for things, and aligning everyone. Because with that transition from our former advisor to her, there was a few months of a gap right around the new year when we ended up losing some student advisory committee members. And so I think, or we all think, this is a great opportunity, though, to reset the culture of the student advisory committee and start fresh with Tam at the helm, because she's phenomenal. So with her help, we're resetting the culture with very tangible examples. So from the beginning, from the very first meeting with Tam, we implemented new meeting expectations. So at the beginning of every meeting, we're using the acronym RESPECT. And RESPECT, we came up with words that like mutual expectations for the team. So the R stands for recognize and responsibility. The E stands for empathy, equity, and exploration. S stands for sensitivity and speak one at a time. P stands for perspective and patience. E stands for engagement, and escuchar, which is Spanish for to listen. C stands for collaboration, and T is trust and time. So that was a great initial way to get everybody on board at the beginning of each meeting, and we have these expectations now moving forward to create a culture shift of mutual respect and teamwork. As Luis mentioned, Dr. O'Day will be conducting an advisor meeting with the student activity directors to re-engage students, have the expectations clear as they're walking in to the student advisory committee. They know what's going on, and to keep students engaged as they're participating, because we definitely had instances where students were showing up that weren't on student advisory committee, and then people were swapping out. And then unfortunately at our last meeting, we didn't even have quorum. So this is a great step ahead to align the staff to support our students and facilitate engagement. Where, as discussed, we're also working on clarifying the role of the student advisory committee as a whole. At the beginning, it was a little, it wasn't very clear to students what exactly our goal was. So our first few meetings was more of just like a complaining session on things that affected certain campuses as opposed to the whole system. So by setting this expectation right off the bat, coming the fall semester, everyone will know what they're stepping into to develop that unified mission. And as discussed, we'll also be clarifying the roles of leadership within student advisory. So we'll be creating like a sort of job description, which I've mentioned to the Board of Regents that is definitely something that's been needed, just so leadership knows how to align the team to reach our to increase the responsibility and accountability for both leadership and all student advisory committee members. So 10 minutes. Thank you. So all of this is a goal to create a culture centered around teamwork and efficiency, so that we can effectively identify and accomplish our goals. And this is a path to create a clear roadmap for students to share their suggestions and really make a difference, because along with the Board of Regents, we've had many challenges this academic year. So what we want to do is reset this so that moving forward, the Student Advisory Committee is the most effective it can be.
Oh, thank you, Carla. Are there any questions from the Board of Regents?
Oh, Chair Ryan, we do have 2 more slides.
Okay, good, good.
Sorry.
Okay. No, that's okay. Thanks.
So here are some of the focus areas. These are some of the issues that have been brought up throughout the year from students. And this is what Carla and I believe that should be some of our focus areas moving forward. Course morality and effectiveness, how effective are our courses and that are being offered currently. What's the educational outcome for some of the courses? I think that some of the students have brought up this, and I think it's something that worthwhile looking. Also developing surveys to identify areas of improvement across the many campuses. We have been aware that there's a lack of awareness across the campuses and lack of communication between what's being offered and what's available. So I think that looking into it and finding ways to communicate with students is going to be highly important moving forward. Better support services and awareness. Some of our veterans are not being aware of the support systems that are being in place, or more support systems that need to be put in place. So this is something that should definitely be looked into. Food insecurity. A lot of students have brought up the topic of food insecurity. I believe that this is a topic that has been being discussed across many of the campuses. So I also believe it's something worthwhile looking. It could possibly be lack of communication or not being fully aware of the full scope of the services being provided at the campuses. But this was by far the most prevalent issue that students brought up in many of our meetings. And like previously mentioned, the access to services and resources, both on and off campuses. I believe that the current services being provided are already super valuable and effective. But I believe rather there's a communication gap between the students and the services being provided, where students don't know who to reach out or where to go to get these services. So finding ways to mitigate that moving forward is going to be highly important.
So what's next for the Student Advisory Committee? So at our meeting on May 3rd, we're going to discuss the culture shift. Also, we're going to identify one or two of those focus areas to get a head start on projects for next semester, so that we don't spend those first 2 or 3 months with elections and just brainstorming, because I think we have a lot of themes that are happening, like the food insecurity, and we've identified these issues, and now what are we going to do about it? So that, as well as elections for the student advisory leadership, I'm moving on and won't be here next semester, and I'll miss working with all of you. And I don't know if what Luis's plans are, but we will be conducting the elections. And we're just gonna do a realignment of the student advisory processes and culture to make this long-term impact. So even though this academic year was tough, I think for all of us, as we are really looking forward, and with Dr. O'Day Stevens' help, I feel there's a really bright future for the Student Advisory Committee to really make a difference. And we're also going to be looking at leadership training for the Student Advisory Committee, and its members, just again, so that everyone's on the same page. So it's much more efficient once we identify these issues, what exactly we want to do about it. And so that is the end of our presentation, and we thank you so much for listening. Are there any questions for me and Luis?
I see Juanita and I see Marty and Ari and Illy. Oh my goodness, Juanita, why don't you go first?
I have a feeling we're all going to ask a lot of the same questions. First of all, I really want to commend you for the work that you're doing, particularly the focus on leadership and culture change. That is so important, frankly, in every aspect of our system. And I think the challenge we have, as you say, is a change of leadership, a change of student body membership, and the continuity. I'd like to just hear from you. I'm so glad to know that you're so pleased with your new advisor, but how do you have the feedback loop in terms of, as you're moving along in this direction, the receptivity to change, the willingness for all of your constituents to listen, particularly faculty and the advising. In other words, this is a progression in terms of better responsiveness to student needs, better awareness and understanding of student needs. And I was really pleased to see the breadth that you presented, because it's not just the academic support, it's all of the other factors that affect our students. So have you talked about a mechanism that what frequency, for example, will you come back to either the Board of Regents or to the various bodies to let us know whether to monitor the progress and how things are improving and, expectations? Because this is a journey that we have to go on together, right? So those feedback loops are really important. And I'd just like to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. It's a two-way street, and I think this is that realization alone was only came to light a few months ago, and so we've identified where this is breaking up, not just within the student advisory committee, but that back and forth between the Board of Regents to give that feedback, and vice versa. So I think the first, we're really starting from the ground up here. The first is going to be just realigning the student advisory committee, starting with the SGAs, starting with the student activity directors, to get everybody on the same page. And then we're just moving forward from there. We're going to establish systems for creating that web of communication, so that student advisory or student activities directors are engaging their students, but then we will have this meeting, we'll have our meetings, and then we have a plan for representatives to say, okay, go back to your SGAs, do this, 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 and this. Having meetings, having discussions, but then having those action items at the end of meetings to keep accountability. Because I mean, what has been happening is that students are coming to the student advisory committee meetings and we're kind of lost. We don't, prior to our new advisor, we'd come out of it kind of lost, not sure what direction, how to make something happen from these conversations, because we have a lot of really engaged students. And unfortunately, we didn't have the tools to build off of that. So our advisor, she's been wonderful helping us put that into effect and put these plans into effect.
And if I could add to that, so from my perspective, unfortunately, I think I'm not sure if students are not being debriefed by their student activities directors. What are the implications of joining the student advisory committee? Like, hey, this is your role. This is how you're going to be impacting your community, your campus. So I'm not sure if that debriefing is being happened prior to this. So I definitely think that students going into this, they don't know what their implications are. They don't know, like, hey, this is my role. This is how I can contribute. There's not like a willingness for them to go an extra step to do the work that's required to make genuine changes in each of the campuses. So I feel, from my perspective, I think it's very important that we should really work on setting up a group that's willing to work together, that's willing to go out of their way, engage with their campuses, get the feedback that we need so we can communicate it to you guys. So I think one of our first steps is building up a strong, secure group so we can gather, really good feedback so we know exactly what are the student, what the needs of the students are.
Thank you.
Hey,
Um,
Chair Ryan, I've got to jump off in a couple minutes, so I'm gonna.
Go right ahead. Go
Yeah, I
ahead.
just want to thank Carlos and Luis tonight. Your success, the student advisory committee's success, is a key component and an important ingredient for all of our success. So with that, I want you, I don't need an answer now, but I want to make the offer, let us know what we can do to help make you more successful. That could be invisibility, participation, recognition, whatever it is. We're here to help because you help us. We want to help you. So just a general offer.
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you.
Yes, Ira Bloom, go ahead, please. Ira, you're muted.
Ira, you're muted.
This technology, when it works, it works. When it doesn't, it doesn't. Ira,
Ira?
we can't hear you, Ira. Ira?
Pam, can you unmute?
Oh,
Yes,
good.
okay, now
Now
I
he's
can.
unmuted.
Okay.
Thank you. My apologies. I wanted to second Regent James' comments and make two other comments. One, mechanism for communication with the board is the board's Committee on Academic and Student Affairs, which has responsibilities on both the academic and student affairs side. And the committee might be one vehicle in which recommendations, comments, etc., can be channeled. Secondly, I was, in regard to the course, there's some discussion of feedback about courses. Is there any systematic way that students provide feedback about courses they've taken?
So I believe by an institutional level, and if anyone can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there's like course evaluations done by the students at each of the campuses, either at community colleges or at the state universities. By the end of each semester, the institutions really try to push out and the professors to fill out the evaluation for each of the courses students have taken. And then, of course, it's up to the student whether or not they want to fill that. It's not mandatory, but I guess that's one way that we can see it. And if we can gather maybe that data and see like what's, what are the responses from each of the courses that students are taking based on the evaluations. I'm not sure if that's gonna be the data there is gonna be super reliable because a student might just come in and fill it out as fast as they can just so they can get done with it. So I'm not sure if it's gonna be super reliable data, but it might be a start.
Yeah. So if I can just jump in here, as Luis was saying, right now I think they're very campus specific. I know some SGAs are conducting surveys, and that was one thing that we discussed about bringing forward as some unified survey, because as different as the community colleges and state universities are, there are some major themes. There's obviously this switch to online modality, and we're seeing all across the spectrum as students, we're seeing some really high quality, superb, amazing online courses, and then some opposite end of the spectrum. So I think we've discussed some sort of unified survey to really nail down how students are feeling on the whole.
One question is what happens to those what happens to the assessments now on the campuses once they're made? So I think that's one item worth discussing as we move forward. I want to apologize. Unfortunately, I have to leave. I really want to thank both students. I think this was a very good presentation and very helpful to understanding your perspective. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, does anyone else have other comments?
A lot of what I was going to say has been said by Juanita and Ira. I do want to, I'm glad that Ira mentioned using the academic and student affairs as a vehicle to receive that, because what strikes me are the students under Carla and Luis's leadership are sort of coming up with solutions, becoming more focused and organized and using education. I just want to make sure that, you know, Dr. O'Day, all the responsibility isn't on Dr. O'Day to sort of direct and guide. If there was a more refined way of ensuring that as they identify the issues, that there's a way that those issues will be addressed, that they get the resources that they need to have it addressed. And it felt a little awkward to me if everything just said, you know, they present to the Board of Regents. So Ira, I'm glad that you said there needs to be one place where they can go. And I'm assuming that Dr. O'Day on the administration side can help to direct through either the chancellor but making sure that things just don't just lay out there in limbo. Because these are very serious issues that you mentioned, you know, sort of veterans not knowing what issues, you know, sort of what resources that they have, you know, food insecurity, you know, the effectiveness of some of the classes. So just making sure that all of that, the issues now that they're raised and it's clearer and they have a great advisor, making sure that it goes somewhere that those issues can be addressed.
Thank you. Are there other comments? Yes, Brendan Cunningham, go right ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to offer one comment, or two comments actually. I did want to thank the students and all the students on the SAC for their service to our communities and our campuses. You know, our students live very, very busy, committed lives, and so for them to step up and take on these roles is a big deal, and so I appreciate what they've presented here. And I would like to offer to the opportunity for the SAC to interact with the FAC, the Faculty Advisory Committee, which is not something that I'm aware of having happened often enough, and I really think it should. I'll commit myself to sort of providing information to the SAC more regularly when sort of student-centered matters come up. If I could just comment on the question Regent Bloom asked, the collection of information from students on their classroom experiences is spelled out in the AAUP contract, and the way that data is used is spelled out very specifically. I wouldn't be surprised if the same wasn't true for the 4Cs, that's a sort of a contractual matter. There's also a very large literature suggesting that data and that process needs to be very carefully designed so that particularly faculty from underrepresented backgrounds do not experience bias in the results that are gathered. So that's a conversation we can certainly have, but there is a very detailed process for how that data is gathered and used on our campuses. So thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank all of you for participating, but especially thank our chair and our vice chair of student advisory. And Carla, we wish you the best of luck in your upcoming graduation and look forward to seeing more of you and hearing more from you in the future. But before we call for a motion to move on.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, the Chancellor has his hand
Yes,
raised.
I see that, and that's what I was just going to say.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank
Chancellor.
you.
No, thank you for that little reminder. Terrence, go right ahead,
Thank
please.
you. Thank you, Chair Ryan. Thanks again to all of our regents. And I just wanted to make sure I said thank you to Carla and to Luis. They've been wonderful, amazing advocates. They've been testifying on our behalf to the legislature. They've been leading students. They've been a part of really important conversations. And as Dr. Cunningham noted, they are as busy as anyone else on the planet, and they are as responsible and as fastidious as anyone else I've ever met professionally. And so I'm deeply appreciative of them. I don't think, Carla, you're going to get that far away. We have a way of getting our hooks into some folks and keeping you around as much as we can. And Luis thought he was going to escape after he, graduated from Northwestern Connecticut Community College, but here he is still representing the universities. And so we're very, very fortunate to have two wonderful student regions like this. And I concur with all of the comments about closing the loop and making sure that the feedback is utilized for our betterment, because that's what the regents are here for. That's what the administration's here for. And that's certainly what the student voice will guide us and direct us on. And I have extreme confidence that having Dr. O'Day Stevens as the administrative partner with the SAC is going to have a huge impact, because she is as diligent and as experienced a professional as I've ever met. And I think having that high level partnership in the administration is really key. So just, deep appreciation and thanks for our student leaders. Again, you all are the reason we're here, and you do a great job representing all of our students. So thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
Chancellor Chang, for those outstanding comments, which I think all of us reflect and know that that's exactly where we should be. Before I call for a motion to move to executive session, let me state that the board will move to executive session for the purpose of discussing matters under Connecticut General Statute, Section 1-206A. No votes will be taken in executive session. Additionally, there will be no discussion, action, or vote by the board following executive session. The only action following executive session will be the declaration of adjournment by the chair. Therefore, allow me to call for a motion to move to executive session for the purpose as I have described, and to adjourn by declaration of the chair with the discussion in executive session concludes. May I have a motion? Is there a second? In second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. The open portion of our meeting has concluded. The recording has been stopped.